Inflammation. So if you're in a situation and tissue is damaged, then your body is alerted by way of, your brain, of course. Alerts is alerted. And how your body gets alerted is when cells are damaged, particularly mast cells or basophil cells, they release histamine. Histamine and other cytokines or chemical releasers or mediators. And histamine is one big popular one, but there's kinines, prostaglandins, and leukotrienes. And these guys send a message out that we have damaged tissue here. Send out the white blood cells, send out the white blood cells to come and get rid of damaged tissue or infected tissue, because it has to go. Yes.
Is scar tissue the same as tissue damage?
Scar tissue is tissue repairing itself the best way that it can.
Oh, okay.
So after the damage, all it could do, because it's not, it's been damaged so badly, it leaves fibroblast tissue.
Oh.
It still does the job. It doesn't look as nice, and it doesn't function as well. It may not even have neurological activity when you touch it. You may not even feel touch, but it does the job. So that's just a sign of repair doing the best it can after tissue's been so damaged.
Okay.
But damaged tissue is if I get cut, or if you get stabbed, or if you get contact with some type of thing that caused allergic reaction. It's damaging the cells, and the cells is telling the body, send out the army, which are white blood cells, really. So you get this chemical message being sent out, and there's other factors associated with this, right? Pain nerves are associated with this because it hurts. Your blood vessels get enlarged. They get enlarged. Why? Because they're transporting white blood cells to the infected area. And you can see that enlargement because you're red there. And you're warm there because blood is warm, right? About 98 point, whatever, depending on the person. So you're going to feel warmth there. You're going to feel pain there. So you're going to have those things. And what else is going to happen when tissue is damaged? Biggie. What'll happen if somebody punches you in the lip?
Rupture.
It's going to get big. Inflammation. Inflammation. Inflammation is the key here, because once the tissues are damaged, the tissue becomes inflamed. It's inflamed.
Why does it become inflamed?
Because of
blood?
prostaglandins and some of the other chemical mediators. Prostaglandin goes and gives a message to the brain. And the brain, in the area where the hypothalamus is, the brain sends the message, release more prostaglandin and more chemical mediators. And those chemical mediators get large. Inflammation is necessary because inflammation calls white blood cells to the infected area. So it's a second line of defense. It's a protective factor. We know it can get overboard, we can be in big trouble. We get inflammation in the throat region, we can't breathe. So, but generally, inflammation is a second line of defense. It's letting the body know by getting large that, look, we got some problem here. Send out the army with your white blood cells, particularly neutrophils and your macrophages. So that's what this WBC is about. Red blood cells are not usually permeable, meaning things are not usually able to come in and out of it, but because white blood cells are transported on the endothelium lining, they're getting a ride to the infected area. They need to come out now, so we have to have this blood vessel more permeable so things can come out. White blood cells come out, battle with the bad guy, or get rid of the damaged cell, which is another bad guy because one damaged cell spoils a bunch. Get rid of that, and then some of them make it out of the battle, some of them don't, right? You know that as a result of pus. Mm-hmm. That's what you got there. You got some bacteria in there too, because they lost too. The white blood cells didn't make the battle, right? They didn't make it back in, so the result of that is pus. So this is an example of that in your book, and it's a good example. This splendor got caught in here. This causes damage. The cells release those chemical releasers, which is one big one is histamine, right? So when we're allergic to stuff and we're outside and that nose or eyes start watering and get large, you go take Benadryl, because Benadryl is an antihistamine. It's going to bring down the swelling. Right? So histamine is a releaser along with the other chemical mediators, kinine, prostaglandin, and leukotrienes. They're the indicator. Inflammation is occurring. They're the indicator to tell white blood cells to come to the infected area. Once that happens, you get your white blood cells, particularly your neutrophils, but you have macrophages as well that is transported there. So, and we talk about white blood cells, and we look at the form elements, your macrophages, or your phagocytes, which means cells that eat of other cells or eat of other things, that's your neutrophils. You have a lot of neutrophils. So that's what's happening. So it's coming after the bacteria. So you develop like an abscess in the area because your body doesn't want this thing to travel into the dermis area because they can get into the bloodstream, and these organisms can grow in the bloodstream. So nature has designed the body in such a way that it captures the stuff in a gel-like form, in the form of an abstract. And it's caught here so that when the white blood cells come to this area, they can just come to this area. It's a localized cut. So splendors are typically localized. If we can't get it out, it can go deeper, could cause us more problems in the end. So after we damage tissue, white blood cells come in and get rid of the bad guy. It's all clear of the bad guy. You get a scab over the top. That means you don't pick it, because if you pick it and open it, you let the bacteria back in. So the scab is to protect the tissue while it's repairing itself. So substitution of dead and damaged cells. So the type of cells that we look at when we talk about replacement is referred to as liable. And they're happening by mitosis. So if I get a cut, mitotically, tissue on my skin has to produce. We can't get ear tissue here. It has to be identical skin tissue. So that's being replaced there. If it's a mucous membrane damage, that needs to be replaced. If it's blood damage, hemopoietic tissue, which is blood vessels or something, same identical blood vessel cells have to be replaced. Lymphatic tissue, the same thing. So we look at the stable. That's no mitotic activity, and that's after the growth has been performed. So this can be divided after injury: liver, the pancreas, and the endocrine cells. Permanent situations are going to be things that, now, many years ago they may have said that you cannot regenerate nervous tissue, but you can. There's limited regenerative nervous activity, nervous growth. But basically, no. So when you sever certain major nerves, they typically don't regenerate. Some of your skeletal tissue might regenerate, and some cardiac muscles might regenerate. But typically, you have no regeneration of certain organs. So, liver, pancreas, you're in trouble if you lose those guys, because you're not going to get any replacement. Well, you can get a replacement from a donor that can replace. And endocrine cells too, hormone cells. So there's primary union and secondary union, and basically this is going to involve what I mentioned, the clotting. The inflammatory response is pus, really mainly white blood cells. You got granulation tissue. You got to replace that clot has to be replaced with tissue. Connective tissue has to be put in there. That's pretty much composed of fibroblast tissue. If it's not, it may not be the exact copy because it's too damaged, and you'll have scarred fibroblast tissue, collagen fibers, and blood vessels, capillaries. Scar is going to be hopefully replaced, if it's not too damaged. And the secondary union is deeper. So the edge of the wounds are not close. There's a greater chance of infection. More in the dermis layer. A clot may not close that gap. You may have to get stitches or something like that. Infiltratory response is great, so if a person is really, really cut by a big, long object or something that's really damaging, that's going to require the hospital visits, because they're going to have to probably stitch that up, give medicine to bring down the swelling. Then the scar is going to be more damaged. It's going to be more damaged. And this is just showing you here what's happening with repair. You get this blood clot, the scab covering, ultimately new tissue that's regenerating the dermis, and then tissue ultimately regenerating the epidermis. So what's going to happen when you get older, and incidentally, this can be reversed with exercise and diet, reverse these things, but cells tend to divide slower, you have less collagen development, tendons and ligaments are not as flexible, the elastic fragments are not going, calcium is not binding as well, so I have less elasticity. Artery walls and elastic ligaments will be less elastic. You can get hardening of the arteries that reduces blood flow, wrinkling of the skin, increased tendency for bones to break. That's a sad report in you guys' book. I'm like, man, and a lot of this stuff doesn't even happen to people. But it's like they give like the worst case scenario. So this, healing is not as effective. But lifestyle, healthy eating, diet, that's not even actually the case. Actually, one of my teachers at an epidemiological class, and one of the teachers, he's always talking about doing the study on age now, and that they found out evidence that age is not necessarily the cofactor to death. That younger people can live harder lifestyles, can suffer with some of the same ailments and die at a younger age, and didn't necessarily mean because they're old. So there's a lot of studies done on geriatric medicine. They give a lot of money for those studies too. So what we want you guys to do is I need you guys to team up with each other. Oh, I cut it off. Because I want you guys to play a little Jeopardy game with me. So this side of the room and this side of the room. So go on either side. Let me pass out my little. Because I want to ask a few questions. I want to ask a few questions and see who is on the money with this.
You don't have a phone back there? You don't have a phone?
Are we going to need that code? Are we going to need it? I'm going to ask her. I have a quick question. Do we need the code for the book? Are we going to have like online homework?